This is the Collector Car Podcast, the home for the auto enthusiast. Join Greg Stanley as he applies over 25 years of insights and analytical experience to the collector car market. He will interview the experts and throw in some fun stuff as well.
Do you find it challenging working on your collector car? Advantage Lifts has the solution for you with their selection of 2- and 4-post lifts. Advantage's 2-post lifts provide an unparalleled amount of versatility. Each wheel can spin freely and be worked on individually, and you'll have full access to those hard-to-reach parts of the undercarriage. And best of all, Advantage's 2-post lifts are ready to ship now. Get $100 off by using code TCCP for the Collector Car Podcast. Again, that's TCCP. You can find your perfect Advantage lift by calling 763-300-5730. That's 763-300-5730. And don't forget to use the promotional coupon code TCCP. Hey, it's Greg Stanley. If you're listening to this podcast, you know I love everything automotive. This passion has expanded to include being a car specialist consultant for RM Sotheby's. So if you need assistance buying or consigning a collector car at any one of our online or live auctions, including Scottsdale, Amelia Island, or Monterey, you can reach one of our car specialists at rmsotheby's.com, or you can email me directly at gstanley@rmsotheby's.com.
Well, welcome to the Collector Car Podcast. Monterey week is over, and I'm excited to have Jonny Lieberman on to talk about his Monterey car week. So, Jonny, how you doing?
I'm okay, man. I'm a little talked out. I was just saying I recorded 3 podcasts yesterday, and that was the day after I got back. And as I've been saying, I think I achieved the 3rd circle of gout during car week, and it's wonderful, but if you're counting your steps, you're doing I don't know, 24,000 steps a day. You're outside you're outside wearing a suit for like 4 days in a row. You're drinking as much champagne as you can carry, and just eating all the shrimp. So it's, yes, first worldest problems ever. But as I age, I think I think we figured out my 12th car week. It's just, it's a lot. It's a lot of fun, but it's a lot.
It is. And I appreciate you being back on the podcast. And we ran into each other at the Quail. I just happened to get tickets this year. And I was thinking about it myself. I judged at at Concorso Italiano Saturday morning, and then I worked at RM Sotheby's. And I was on my feet for 16 hours with a 1-hour nap.
Yeah, and again, it's like you can't. I can complain to you about it, but the people who are listening are like,
please.
Wait, the Quail, that's the one that's $1,000 a ticket. It's all the oysters you can eat, right. And there's $500 million worth of the best cars in the world that you have to look at, and it's like, yeah, but man.
Well, let's talk about your car week, because when I ran into you, I'd already seen you had been by RM Sotheby's, and you sat in a McLaren F1. Yeah. We saw each other briefly. You're up for this quick call, so yeah, tell us what did your week look like? Like, walk us through when you got there, what cars you drove, some impressions.
Yeah, I got there Tuesday actually.
Okay.
I was up. Well, Monday I drove up Sunday. So I was up there for 8 days, but I live in LA. I drove up to Silicon Valley. Lucid showed a car at the Quail called the Air Sapphire, and it's their new 3-motor car, well over, as they say, 1,200 horsepower. Knowing Lucid, it's probably 1,400 horsepower, but well over 1,200. It's the most powerful sedan in the world. Blah 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 blah. They launched a new luxury brand called Sapphire. And so I went and I hung out at Lucid on Monday, and I looked at the car, and I got the rundown, and I wrote a story about it for Motor Trend. And then Tuesday I went to Pebble, and what did I do Tuesday? My friend Roy Carroll now works at RM Auctions. Yeah. So RM put me up for the night, and in the morning on Wednesday we drove a 1930 Duesenberg.
Right,
which is pretty cool. I've never driven a Duesenberg before, and so I've always wanted to, and it was everything I thought it would be, although it did. I think the water pump something went wrong, so it kind of overheated, which sucks. So yeah, we were the jerks on the side of the road in downtown Monterey with a Duesenberg with steam pouring off the engine.
So compare that experience to all the other car experiences. I mean, you said it's what you expected, but what did you expect?
Well, I drove a 1930 Bentley 8-liter one time, and I figured this would be pretty similar, and it was pretty similar. But look, it's impossibly long, it's impossibly narrow. Nothing is assisted. You have to worry about advancing and retarding the ignition on the steering wheel. It's just you sit as high as you do in an SUV. It's a torque monster. Like you cannot stop this thing from going forward. But you also can't stop really well if you needed to, if that makes any sense. So it's great old car. As the guy in crew told me about the Bentley, double declutching is mandatory because synchros hadn't been invented yet. So you're doing a lot of clutching, but fantastic. I mean,
which one was it? You remember?
It was a J. It was a 1930 J. So it was like a black car with maroon highlights. It actually wasn't the one I was supposed to drive. The one I was supposed to drive wound up getting, because if you've never been, you've never been. But if you've never been, they take over the Portola Hotel RM, and so they stick cars everywhere. You go up an escalator. There's a Duesenberg and literally the one I was supposed to drive somehow got stuck on the floor. At the end of the elevator. So this was the other one.
Okay.
So anyhow, and then I drove even better, in my opinion, a 1972 Mercedes 600.
That's the green one, right?
Green with the
beautiful
light green top, and I mean, literally perfectly restored. I mean, probably better than it ever was at the factory, to be honest. An impossibly wonderful car. The air conditioning was so cold we had to turn it off because our fingers were freezing.
Wow.
And really good cars do this to me, where I was driving around and just really enjoying myself, and the thought enters my head like, look at all these suckers not driving a Mercedes 600. Like, you only live once, and you're going to be in your Honda, like,
right.
And so it was fantastic, like just a wonderful car. And then from there, let's see. Thursday.
You skipped over the McLaren.
Yeah, I sat in the McLaren F1.
Any thoughts on that car? I mean,
I think it's the second one I've sat in. I've been around probably 10 of them. It's kind of getting to the point for me where it's like, if I don't drive one soon, I don't know. It's hard. Like, yeah, I mean, yes, I understand they're very expensive and everybody loves them, but I've never driven it. So I don't know. Maybe it's terrible. Right. It's hard to get in and out of. It's really no elegant way to get out of the thing. You can sort of like worm your way in. But I've sat in Leno's, and I've reached the point in my career where time to drive. So I'm gonna probably just have to bug Leno about it. But yeah, it was very cool. And I mean, I skipped over a lot of the stuff. Like RM was littered with amazing cars. That Ferrari room, I was salivating. They had a 288 GTO that I also sat in, and the F40, which I also said. What I was doing was I was getting all these amazing cars and flipping off the camera and sending pictures to my friends. I have certain friends that really like F1s, really like F40s. So yes, I am 12 years old, but I figured out a way to monetize that. And RM was killer. It was really, really cool. And it's one of those funny things. And it's just how life works out. Like, I never had an in at RM. I just never really knew anyone there. And I was always and I still am really friendly with Gooding. Like, I know David Gooding, but I would just not, for any malicious reason, I would just always ignore RM and spend time with Gooding. And so for the first time I spent time with RM, and I loved it. It was great, so.
Well, we love you too. So
yeah, thank you. But it was, you know what I mean? It's just one of those things. Like, it's just like, we never met, for whatever, just, that's how life is. Yeah. But it was great. It was really great. And then let's see, I'm trying to think. I know I did something Thursday. I'm blanking. I saw the new the Zinger.
Oh yeah, I saw you post on Instagram. You weren't quite sure if that thing would maybe come to realization as they advertised, right?
Well, no, I mean, maybe I posted a while ago, but this time, this was the long tail version. So Zinger, if you don't know, new company out of LA, actually. Like the stats are ludicrous. It's a 900 whatever horsepower V8 that they designed with 3 hybrid motors, and total output is up to like 1350. they're claiming 0 to 60 in under 2, 0 to 100 in under 4, 0 to 250 miles an hour to 0 in 27 seconds.
Wow.
Which is what? Okay. And then this long tail versions that we've seen for a couple of years now, the high downforce track attack version,
Sure.
which is, they're calling it a production car. Okay, but it did like a 125 at Laguna Seca and wasn't fully baked until McLaren Senna did a 127 something. You know what I mean?
Right.
So when they fully bake it, it should be even quicker. But it's for real. This one they're saying well over 300 miles an hour. They actually told me the number, and I think I told them I wouldn't repeat it. But if what they're saying is true, so like right now, 304 is the record with the Koenigsegg. No, sorry, not the Koenigsegg. The Bugatti Chiron 300 mile an hour plus went 304. Right. Koenigsegg claims the Jesko Absolute can go 310.
Wow.
These guys claim they're going to beat it. Hennessy also claims he'll beat it. Everyone's going to beat it. So you have a lot of people going 300 miles an hour, which is totally pointless, but that's fine by me.
Aren't there only like 2 places in the world you can do that?
There's literally 0 places in the world you can do that.
Right.
It's fine. I mean, I've spent my career trying to go 200 miles an hour, and I've done it 4 or 5 times. It's really, really hard to do.
Yeah.
It's really hard to do. So 190, not so hard. 200 for some reason hard. 300, impossible. But sure, what bragging rights, man, bragging rights.
That's right.
Trust me, no owner will ever go 300.
No. Yeah. Now, was that at the Quail? You saw that?
No, they had a little party.
Okay.
They had like a little reveal, and it was cool. It was fun to see Kevin. So what's so cool about that car, and the reason I feel it's worth mentioning. So Kevin Zinger and Luke Zinger, father and son team behind the thing. What's really actually much more interesting than the 300 mile an hour claims and all that is that the whole car is 3D printed, but it's not just 3D printed.
Wow. They've
developed the 3D printers. And so there's another company behind it called Divergent Technologies. And it's like accelerated evolution. So they'll say okay, we need this part, right? This is hangs an exhaust pipe off, right? And it needs to support this amount of weight and take this amount of stress. This is the space we're working in. Make it as strong and as light as powerful. So given that command in their AI, I don't know if it's AI, but powerful computers, they go through 100,000, 1 million iterations of the piece. The computer invents its own alloys. So it's like, let's try 70% aluminum, 29% magnesium, 1% zinc. So they're actually the computer's developing, and then they're patents. They're getting patents on their own Zinger alloys. And all the stuff looks like, H.R. Geiger designed it. It's like this alien technology, like sinewy, muscly. If you look at a cross section, it looks like bird bones. It's wild.
Wow, that's insane.
Absolutely wild. So it's kind of the coolest stuff. And it's hard to get that message out, but so I'm very excited about Zinger and the future.
How does their weight relate to? I mean, obviously there should be no excess weight because it's so made for that exact purpose, space, blah blah blah. How does their weight compare to other light cars?
I haven't weighed it. I don't know. They claim it's much lighter, but the other thing to know is other OEMs are like using them. So in other words, Zinger for a long time has said that 8 OEMs are using their technology, and they finally this week revealed that Aston Martin's one of them. And so that Aston showed a car this week called the DBR 22, sort of like a windshieldless speedstery thing, but the rear subframe is manufactured by Divergent Technologies, Zinger's parent company. And the advantage of it, aside from being super light, and it's super, the stuff is super light. I mean, I've seen Kevin Zinger, who's weighs 165 pounds. I've seen him pick up, hold over his head the rear subframe of the Zinger. But the real advantage, aside from that, is they were saying halfway through development of the Aston Martin, they changed the size of the gas tank. So that meant they had to redesign the rear subframe. And normally, because of safety crash tests, you're talking, it's a weeks or month long delay to get the new part. They had it to them in like 6 or 7 days.
Wow.
And so
Okay.
they just tell the computer, like, hey, figure it out. This is the new shape. These are the
Yep.
parameters. And it just comes up with it. And it's like, on average, I think they were saying it's like, it's either 40 or 60% lighter, significantly lighter, significantly stronger, and especially in terms of crash, like, an order of magnitude better in terms of crash, because that's one of the things they program in is like, make sure this works out in a crash, protect the passenger cell.
Right.
So
Okay.
it's really cool technology. So saw the $345,000 Range Rover Carmel Edition 117.
That's crazy.
Well, yes, it is.
Aren't there like 25 of them or something?
17 for 17 mile drive.
Okay.
1 second. It was interesting because they're showing it. It's cool, it's a nice paint. The wheels got paint on them that match the body. The interior's got some grade of fancy leather up front that's blue, like the Monterey Bay. It's got some kind of different grade of leather in the rear that looks like the exterior. It's got porcelain inserts, right? Very nice.
Wow.
Only 17. And they go, only people standing here right now are eligible to purchase one. So it's for like very special Range Rover customers. And the price is $345,000. And so me and my friend like spit our champagne at each other. But look, it's the rarest Range Rover ever made. You had to have been there to even be eligible to buy one. So I guess if you're a Range Rover enthusiast and really rich, it's a great car for you. It's fantastic,
It's not made with the deerskin hides from the ones I saw on the golf course, right?
No.
Okay.
No. But at RM, they had a Maserati that had an elk skin interior that was Juan Perón. It was intended for Juan Perón. He never got a hold of it, but that was pretty cool. So that was my Thursday. I did that. Friday was the quail.
Yeah. So you're walking around some dapper clothing.
Thank you. The quail sort of has become too big to really see everything.
Yeah.
I realized looking, it's a funny thing. You open up Instagram and it's an event you're at and you're getting FOMO because you're missing out on the event you're at. It's wild. But it was cool. I mean, I think the most interesting stuff there to me, the Porsches in my mind sort of stole the show. And by Porsche, I mean the Porsche GT3 RS, which stunner in person. Like, oh my God. Talk about something owners will never use. This thing has wings on the suspension for downforce, but just stunning. And then you had the roof SCR. Oh, that's what I did. Sorry. I drove the roof on Thursday, the roof SCR.
Okay.
I left out Motorlux. There's so much going on. So the
McCall
party,
right?
Yeah, Wednesday night.
Oh,
the
sorry,
McCall's party is now Motorlux.
That's joining me.
Hagerty, they bought it, and it's really good. They improved it.
Check her out real quick. Sorry,
oh, that's fine. I keep talking. They improved it tremendously. So it used to be there was kind of the unofficial kickoff to Monterey Car Week was the McCall's party at the Jet Center, and now it's called Motorlux, and it's much better. And they have like water. It's
I know. We went last year to McCall's, and it, like you said, it ran out of water. Didn't run out of wine, which that was important, but ran out of water.
I ran into Soon and McKeel, and they were like, "Would you change anything?" And I was like, "Well, you're gonna hate this, but more water," because there was one point at the water station where they're out, and like we're waiting for people to bring jugs, but no, that was a really fantastic event. And they're starting their own auction, Broad Arrow, whatever that means, but that was sort of interesting. They had some nice cars there. But I drove the roof SCR the next day, and that was mind-blowingly good. That's if you don't know what a roof is, if you don't know what the roof's a German manufacturer that Porsche tuner, but that's sort of an insult because they do so much more than that. So this car is starts with a carbon tub of roof design. So it's not like Singer or Gunther Works where they take a old Porsche and fabulize it, make it better. This is like
ground
the
up.
finished product looks like a 911. There's no 911 in it whatsoever.
Right.
It's a carbon tub with steel front and rear subframes. It's a sort of Metzger motor that Roof manufactures. So it's a 4-liter water cooled 503 horsepower motor. It's a ZF 6-speed transmission, rear drive only, carbon fiber body, inboard push rod suspension. So there's no weight on the wheels. The wheels are super light. Just epic. Like one of the greatest cars I've ever driven. I was blown away. And I drove it with I always butcher his name, but Alois Roof was in the passenger seat.
Okay.
And we were just whipping around, just unbelievable car.
So how does that compare to like the best new 911?
So what the most fascinating thing about the Roof, I left this out. The length of the SCR is the same as a Porsche 901, the original car that Bootsy Porsche designed, right?
Tiny.
The wheelbase is longer, and he actually had Freeman Thomas, master designer, redesign it and shorten this, and so if you look at it, it looks like a normal Porsche, but he's really done some cool tricks to kind of like put a long wheelbase on a short body. It's really interesting. So, 503 horsepower, the current GT3, which, revs to 9,000 and has a manual. And this, by the way, revs to like 8,750, has a manual. This is 503. Current GT3 is 502 horsepower. The roof's probably 500 pounds lighter, but also it's just wrapped around you. Like my shoulder was touching his shoulder. It's a much more intimate experience. Whereas a lot of people are like, oh, it's so big, but look, the current GT3 is a modern car. It's the size of a modern car, but it is a larger vehicle. You know what I mean? And you are, it's just not as intimate, I guess is the best way to put it. I bet performance wise, pretty similar. I sort of like the feel of the Roof, like steering better because there's a lot less weight on the wheels. Because the not only the inboard shocks, but the wheels can be smaller because it's not such a big car. So it's better. It's also starts at $934,000.
Right.
Yeah, GT3, even with the markups, 250. So there's a difference.
Right.
But then I thought that and the Gunther Works, the orange twin turbo, air cooled twin turbo, which makes somehow 700 horsepower with an air-cooled engine, which I'm like, what? I thought that was pretty stunning. I wasn't the Singer. I thought sort of looked a little boring, but it was also sort of shoved off in the corner.
The turbo cab you're talking about?
Yeah, what'd you think?
I liked it. I'm not crazy about the big side scoops on the side, that they put on there. Otherwise, it looked pretty much like a factory. 930 turbo.
It looks factory, I guess, is the problem. Yeah, and then maybe it wasn't like really in a good show car color. Like the Roof was like British racing green, and the Gunther Works was I don't even know what, but some amazing orange, sparkly orange. So the Koenigsegg was right next to the Singer. And then it's a horrible name, CC 850. Or CC 58 or whatever it is, CCR 8, I don't know, but it has a automatic and a manual transmission, which people were really excited about. I was much less excited about it than everybody else, but so it's a 9-speed transmission, and it's a totally revolutionary type of automatic where there's basically 3 gears, and so you can combine them in 3 different ways. So 3 times 3 is 9. And then manual, you pull out one of the combinations. So 3 times 2 is 6. That's your 6-speed. And so if you've ever been on a simulator, a racing simulator, you have a manual transmission. It's not really a transmission because you're not moving the gears. And this, you're still not moving the gears. Supposedly, it feels like you're moving the gears, and it's a clutch pedal. Seems a little
gimmicky.
Totally unnecessary to me, but people were losing their minds over it. They just could not believe it. So maybe I'm old and out of touch. So I don't know.
Yeah.
And then my favorite car, shockingly, I thought I heard about it and I wasn't even excited. the Bugatti Mistral. And it's just basically a Chiron with like half of a Devo body kit and the roof removed. I just thought it looked stunning.
Yeah. Black.
But black with the yellow interior. And it's like they took the Devo, which I thought was kind of a immature, overly aggressive, clownish kind of body kit, and they really made it elegant on this. And it's got the widest kind of horseshoe grill they've ever done, and the back is just like just phenomenal looking. And I was like, whoa.
Right.
And they're $5 million and they made 99, and they're making 99, and they're all sold out before anyone saw the car. So
right.
there's a cool 495 million euros for them or whatever. So
that's right.
Way
to
go,
right.
Bugatti.
Yeah. How about like Pagani or some of the other? I mean, Acura was there. You had the modern interpretation of a dune buggy, which I thought was
Myers Manx. So back to Freeman Thomas. So he's now the CEO of that company, and I thought that was cool, and I loved how they stuck it in a sand trap.
Yeah, that was awesome.
That was like brilliant. I mean, I hope everyone really noticed that. And like from now on, if you have an SUV at the Quail, it has to be sitting in a sand trap. I thought, that's cool. And I also heard the price point of that, which is it's a new electric version of a Myers Manx. It's like $65,000 for the small battery, which is like, it's still a rich guy's toy, but hey, that's an attainable rich guy's toy.
Difference, yeah.
So that was cool. I mean, Pagani's great. That nothing new, the car they had on the stand. I've driven it, the Huayra R, which is the absolute best sounding car in the world. I don't know if you saw Gordon Murray was there, the GMA Gordon Murray Automotive with the the T.50 and the T33.
What do you think of those?
Well, give me a second. I'll get back to what I think of them. But they fired one up, right? And they're gonna hear you're gonna hear the sound of the V12. It was cool. I was standing on stage and I heard it and was like, it's a pretty good sounding 11,000 RPM, 12,000 RPM, whatever it is, V12, Cosworth motor. And then Pagani fired up the Huayra R, and it's just like, no one. And I've been in the Aston Martin Valkyrie AMR Pro on a racetrack. Nothing comes close to this, the way this Pagani sounds. It's like, I don't know if you heard it when they fired it up, but it was
I wasn't. Yeah, I missed it.
Yeah, it was 1:20 in the afternoon. It was just unbelievable.
Wow.
So that was pretty cool. I mean, look, it's kind of sort of how I feel about the McLaren F1. Like, very cool. They don't look that cool.
That's more of the fan on the back, right?
Yeah, the GMA cars. I don't think they look very cool. And right. I know that like Gordon wants them exactly like this. And I'm sure they're neat. And I know Dario Franchetti, and I know he's driven it and really likes them and helped develop it. But like, I don't know. I don't think it looks, like that Lamborghini sitting next to it looks way cooler to me.
Right. Right.
Again, I know it's ultra light, ultra small, manual V12, everybody's dream. But if you're in that $3-4 million neighborhood, got
a lot of choices.
a little flash, a little pizzazz,
right?
And they're just kind of dull,
Yeah.
It is my take on it. I'm sure I'm wrong, but that's just I was looking at them I was up there for. They had to warm the oil or something for like 10 minutes. So I was standing there just staring at the thing before they started revving it. I don't really remember what it looks like. It's just sort of this blue shape, like a some kind of Easter treat. I don't know. Yeah. So all
right. So that was the Quail. Anything else at the Quail?
The LM002s. They had 6 Lamborghini LM002s. My favorite vehicle maybe ever. I lead a very weird life. So of the 6 that were there,
now this is just for our listeners. This is the Lambo, the Sport Ute from the late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah, kind of mid to late 80s. Yeah,
beautiful, very beautiful.
Countach V12, developed for Muammar Gaddafi and the Libyan army, but they don't like to talk about that. And then they pulled the plug. Originally developed, interesting truck because it was supposed to be in the late 70s. The U.S. Army said, hey, we got to replace the Jeep. We need a new Jeep. So they put out the call. Eventually, the replacement became the Hummer, the H1 Hummer. But, Lamborghini tried. They had a thing called the Cheetah, and then there was the LM001, so Lamborghini Military 001, very wonderful name. And then the 002, Gaddafi was like, hey, but that didn't work out either. So they just put them into civilian production. They made 347 of them. And the wild part for me is, of the 6 that were there, I've driven 2 of them. And I was attempting to drive the 3rd one, but my friend Vinny, who was starting it up, he flooded the engine, so we couldn't drive it.
Oh,
yeah. But I've driven over 1% of all LM002s ever made. So that's
actually, back in the early 90s, I lived in Jacksonville when they were based in Jacksonville. And I remember going up to their castle, as it was known, and put my head up on the tinted windows, and I could see the outline of an LM02 and a couple Diablos. And later I found out the Evan Schoen, car specialist with Armed Sotheby's, he worked for Lamborghini at the time, and he was probably in the building the time that I was trying to.
Oh, that's funny.
That small world. So
yeah, that's great. Anyways, I thought that was like cool. There's not as many of those left as there should be, and they're such neat trucks, because it's name another giant 8,000-pound SUV with a V12 and a manual.
Right.
It's
yeah.
And Horatio Pagani designed the interior and did a lot of the engine engineering as well, like all the air filtration, and they were designed because of Libya to like keep sand out of the motor. So if you ever open it, it looks like these giant like kind of crock pots things, and they're just like sand and air filters. And
they're beautiful trucks.
Yeah, they're cool. So that was Quail. Saturday I flaked. I was supposed to judge Concours de Lemons.
Oh, sure.
And I just flaked. I was like, you know what? Same joke, 17 years. I just don't have it in me. And I just flaked. And I talked to Jay Lamb. I'm like, if I flake, is it a big deal? And he was like, nothing on earth matters less. Like, don't worry about it. So I flaked. Sorry, Lemons. And then and one of the reasons was we did a live, I'm on this podcast, Spike's Car Radio.
Oh, yeah.
So we did a live show. And I don't know, I was a little nervous. I didn't want to stand out in the sun for 3 hours and then go do a live show. So we did a live show on Saturday, sold out crowd. Super fun. It was me, Spike, Ferriston, Zuckerman, Matt Farah, Jerry Seinfeld FaceTimed in, and it was a ball. It actually went live today. I don't know when this podcast goes out, but just went live today. And it was cool, yeah, we did about an hour show, just kind of did our normal show and read ads and everything. And it was fun. It was cool.
Yeah, I listened to Spike weekly, and he's been on the podcast before, and yeah, enjoy it for sure. A lot of fun you guys seem to have. And this is posted on Thursday, so listeners, it posted yesterday, so be sure to check it out. Spike's Car Radio.
Yeah, it's cool. It was, we even do Dear Zuckerman, which is my one of my favorite segments.
Dear Abby, Dear Zuckerman, yeah,
exactly. Sorry, if you haven't listened, we have this guy Paul Zuckerman, who's a banana peel lawyer, as he describes himself. But he's just a funny guy. I don't know. He's got this horrifying accent, like, yeah, hey, you short-fingered maggot, hey, that's actually how he
sound just like him.
Yeah, I've been working on the accent. That's when he's not on the show, I have to imitate him.
That's right.
So, and it was great. It was a really good time, really, really fun. And then Saturday night, what did I do after that? It was a Bentley party. Bentley signature party, which was really packed and a lot of dancing. Not really my scene, but it was good to see some friends. And then Sunday,
big show. Yeah,
and I thought it was incredible. How do I put this? I just think that what Sunday on the lawn at Pebble Beach is the singular greatest car thing in the world. You'll hear people like, oh, they just sit there on grass, they're not moving. It's like, you are looking at cars so rare.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, if you go to Villa d'Este in Lake Como in Italy, they got 50 cars, and they're cool, and you'll probably see them there next year. And if you go to the Goodwood Revival, it's great, man, it's cool, or Festival of Speed, but all those cars were there last year. You go to Pebble Beach, everything you saw, you're not going to see it again for 10 years. They can't come back. A car's not even eligible to come back until 10 years later.
Yep.
And it's 250 cars, and it's like magnificently curated, the best of the best of the best. And so it's I just love it. I don't know, my 12th time going. I wouldn't. I hate missing it.
Yeah, and you were doing a little color commentating at one point. I saw you on the Megatron or something like that.
Yeah, so the Torque Show. So Justin Bell and TK Tommy Kendall, they do the live coverage. Motor Trend, we used to do it. I think I did about 3 or 4 of those. It's really it's a pain, man. That's 4 hours of live TV sucks.
Yeah.
But yeah, Justin had me on. And it was cool. We talked about the hot rod class. So Ken Gross, who's one of the main, I guess, curators, I don't know the actual term, but he picks out the cars for the classes. Huge hot rod guy, and in fact, his hot rod was on the lawn, and it was a very specific 1932 Ford class, and the cars were awesome, and yeah, so we just talked about that, and just the show in general, and racing, and it was fun. We had a good time. So
I'm going to ask you 2 impossible questions.
Yeah, go ahead.
What was one's not impossible. What was your favorite thing you ate the entire time? And then what was your favorite car for the weekend?
I went to a Cadillac dinner. I'm sorry. I left. There's so much happened. I saw the new Cadillac Celestique.
Okay.
Not Celestique, Celestique. They're very rhymes with lyric. Their other new EV.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and I kept going. So it's tick, not teak. And they're like, yeah, it's tick. But anyways, and so if you don't know, the Celestique is the $300,000 hand-built Cadillac EV that's coming. Well, hey, look, if Range Rover can sell a $345,000 Range Rover that is exactly the same as a Range Rover, like performance-wise, like, hey, Cadillac can sell a $300,000 super sedan thing. But at the party, they had these fancy tater tots with caviar on top.
Oh, nice.
And like literally delicious. And I was talking to my friend who's a pretty famous chef, and I was like, dude, he's like, I was like, they're so good. And he goes, yeah, Johnny, adding salt and fat to salt and fat, it's very tasty. That's an old one. That's chefs aren't impressed by anything. But
I'm assuming you do not add ketchup to those tater tots, right?
It was a hand passed hors d'oeuvre, so no, there's no. And they were cut like little Lego bricks. I mean, they were little like rectangles. It was
okay, that's kind of nuts
with caviar. It was delicious, absolutely delicious. Yeah, so that was good. I feel like there's something else that was really. Oh, I went to the Gunther Works house. I did a lot, man. It was a full.
Yeah,
full
you're all over the place.
Yeah. The Gunther Works house had some unbelievable food. I forget the name of the chef. Dang it. But yeah, he had these little sliders that were like imagine the McDonald's hamburger perfected and made from like meat. So it's just it was really, really good. Yeah. And then favorite car of the weekend, boy.
You drove a few.
Look, oh boy, probably there was a Voisin C25. I don't know if you saw that one. It was a dark blue car with a yellow secondary color, and then like a real bright orange pinstripe. Not even pinstripe, but just like another.
Oh, was it like humpback with the 3 portholes?
Humpback, and then the roof had portholes in it.
Yeah, that thing was insane.
Back.
And it was unrestored, wasn't it? Or no?
No. This was like perfectly restored. This was an over-the-top restoration. But it was like I was talking to the mechanics, and they go, "Yeah, the owner just doesn't even want to enter it. It's not even eligible to compete. So it's just sitting there on the lawn."
That thing was insane.
Shoved in the corner.
There was an unrestored Voisin further down the line because I was blown away to see an unrestored one too. So yeah, that thing was nuts with the portholes on the back.
Yeah, that was cool. I mean, and then like there was that silver David McNeil's 250 GTO was like, I mean, I was listening to him talk to the judges, and he's so casual about it, but he's like, yeah, like because it had the paper tape over the headlights.
Yeah, and it had the
what's that?
The stripes, Italian stripes, right? Red, white, green.
Well, yeah, but this was just there was just paper taped, masking taped over the headlight for some reason. And he's like, oh yeah, so we went to France to buy the masking tape because in the US we use inches, they use millimeters, so it's a slightly different size. And I was like, this is going to win the class, and it did.
Yeah.
That was pretty good. And then there was, it was a 1937 Fagoni and Fallaci Talbot Lago that I was sitting there looking at, going like, you know what, this is arguably the greatest car in the world, and it was one of the top finishers. So at the very end, they bring up 4 cars, and it was one of them, and that Duesenberg went. I might have been a little down on Duesenberg because of what happened when the one overheated, so I wasn't really looking at it too carefully. But the winner was a nice car too. But I think you're like, take a set of keys and drive out. It's probably that Voisin would do it for me.
Yeah, and that Duesenberg that actually won, that's actually an RM restoration. So Gord
no kidding
drove it on the rally, which is pretty cool. It's a beautiful car.
Yeah. Hey, congratulations. Good job.
Yeah,
it was incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible.
For sure.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. What time did you get home?
Yesterday. No, 2 days ago. Monday. I drove home Monday at I don't even know. Some point on Monday.
So you've been to 12 of these. So looking back at your last week, 9 days, whatever there, what would you do differently for next year?
Nothing.
Nothing. Excellent.
Like again. Yeah. No, it's the greatest, man. I mean, okay. I mean, this is a real inside baseball, horrible thing to say, but like, stay at Spanish Bay. I was at a different hotel.
Oh yeah.
I mean, my thing is I try to wind up at the fire pits at Spanish Bay every night during the week and have a cigar with my friends. And I did that, but then you got to like schlep back to the hotel. So
sure. Yeah.
Spanish stout. That's the only thing I do different.
All right. So there is something.
Really a horrible, again, entitled, nasty thing to say, but you asked. So.
I did ask.
Yeah. Maybe eat a little less. You don't need to like eat. I mean, it was rough by Sunday.
Yeah.
But you get plied with food, So.
Yeah. Well, man, we appreciate it. Where are you headed off to next? What can we expect from you coming in next couple of weeks?
Okay, I'm going to New Jersey tonight. Little family vacation, believe it or not, people vacation in New Jersey. Then I'm going to Daytona to look at the Porsche 963. So that's the new Le Mans hypercar.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go watch it testing, and then I'm off to Spain to look at or drive the Range Rover Sport and a couple other variants of that, including I think a Range Rover Hybrid. Goodwood Revival, pop over to England, do the Revival, which is fun. Small chance I'm going to Korea, don't know. And then
what for in Korea?
Spain. What's that?
What for in Korea?
Drive some sort of car. I don't know if I can talk about it, but it's either a Hyundai, a Kia, or a Genesis.
Yeah, it's one of those. Yeah,
I'm not sure what I'm allowed. It was briefly brought up yesterday.
Sure.
And then I'd probably go right from Korea back to Spain to drive I don't know if I can talk about this either, but it's an Audi. So,
okay.
Yeah. I whatever. It's an RS5 competition. So
right.
It's gonna exist. I don't know if you can. Maybe I made a mistake. Anyhow, it's a big September.
Wow, that's huge.
Yeah. So, well, I'm not doing SUV of the year or car of the year for Motor Trend this year.
Okay.
And they're just like, well, we need someone to go on press trips, and so
there you go. You're the guy. Yeah. All right. Well, what's the best way our listeners can find you? I know you're all over the place.
The only way I shouldn't say that, but the best way is Instagram.
Yeah.
It's just Jonny Lieberman, and my name is spelled a little funny. There's no H in Jonny. It's Jonny. Jonny Lieberman, or motortrend.com. But Instagram is Jonny Lieberman, and Spike's Car Radio. That's awesome. The other place every week.
Well, man, thanks for sharing your Monterey Car Week with us on the Collector Car Podcast.
Yeah, Greg, thanks, man. It was fun as always. Yeah, do it again.
Thanks for listening to the Collector Car Podcast. Don't forget to give us a nice rating on iTunes, and be sure to follow us on Instagram and everywhere else at the Collector Car Podcast.